What's up, guys? How are we doing? Chuck Silver here. It's August 31st. Best Ball Mania is about 100 entries away from closing, from filling up. So the goal right now is to try to get into the very last lobby. If I end up missing it, no big deal. We'll get an early start on, I guess, talking about the marathon strategy. But I thought it'd be really cool to get in the very last Best Ball Mania lobby. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. Just over 100 people to go. So we're very close. 99.9% full. August 31st. I bet Underdog didn't plan for this. Last year, Best Ball Mania filled on the day of. This year, it's going to fill like 4 days early. It's pretty great. This BBM5. Let's see if we can get in here. So my initial prediction was that it fills today, and then I thought the fill rate was kind of increasing a lot on Thursday. So I thought it was going to fill yesterday, and then I thought it was going to fill yesterday by the evening, but I guess not that many people really were drafting. And then overnight, the fill rate slowed down pretty hard because I was kind of worried it was going to fill at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., but not that many people were really entering late at night. So, all right, we got to focus up here. So as soon as it hits 660, I should probably hit enter. I'm going to try to do it on my phone too in case I miss it. 660 is the magic number. Oh. All right. Looks like it's updating on my phone as fast as on the computer. So as soon as it says 660, I'm going to hit confirm and hopefully, I don't know, maybe draw the 1 or 2 spot in my last draft, my last BBM anyway. Dude, we're 30 away. If anyone's watching, you want to get in one more, you should probably enter right now. Like, I'm okay if I miss it, but did I do it? Did I do it? No. Oh, it's too late. I missed it. Dang. Should have probably entered it a second early. It would have been fine to get in one of the last ones, huh? Well, I messed that one up. Well, that was a big fail. It's okay. We can draft a marathon. And I failed. Disappoint. Well, I ended up with 35 entries total in BBM. Let's see. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly winners. And then I'm done. Then I'm done with slow drafts. So let's see, 302 in the regular season. Yep, nothing really changing here. Tony Pollard, my new highest owned running back, feels great. James Conner, love him. Gabe Davis, Ty Chandler, Khalil. Yep, everything kind of makes sense to me here. Want to get this Deshaun Watson ownership down, but don't know if I can. I just don't know if there's going to be enough drafts to where I can. I didn't even get a full 5 entries in the poodle or whatever it was they dropped yesterday. I only got 3. So probably mostly done drafting Underdog except for the marathon. It's at 62% filled. It needs almost 60,000 entries. I mean, I'd still be kind of surprised. I was going to say I'd be surprised if it filled. I actually don't know if I'd be surprised if it filled. A lot of people that maybe missed out on BBM are going to get into this. The sprint should still overlay, but this one, like if it does overlay, maybe it overlays to where it's rake free. Pulled the 5 spot. So this is probably, I mean, we'll see if we get some more single entries, but we are going to talk about the marathon over the next few days. We're still going to get in a stream every day until the NFL season starts. And so I've been doing a lot of the drafts over on one of the other sites that their main best ball format is just the regular season scoring total points. So there are a couple of the differences we want to be aware of. I think one of the common misconceptions, like this is probably the most important one too, is that you want to like go for floor, but the thing is we're trying to win a contest against 150,000 other people. I think you go for pure ceiling. Like I don't think floor matters much at all in this contest. Like if you like I think you get your floor by the way that you construct your roster, how many players you're drafting at each position. I don't know if it's necessarily like well, Amon Ra probably has a safer floor than Jamar, but if Jamar outscores Amon Ra at the end of the season, that doesn't matter at all. Kind of like I'm thinking about players like Devin A Chain, where he's going at pick 17. It seems fine. Like his floor is pretty low, but if this, it's like you get the benefit of the spike weeks the entire season. Whereas in formats like BBM, if the spike week comes in week 14, that's great, but you are already advancing out of that pod. And if it doesn't come in 15, 16, or 17, then you're not making much money off that lineup. Whereas, you get a couple. I mean, Devin A Chain had a 50-point game last year. Let's say you get two 38, 40-point games from Devin A Chain during the regular season. Like that's a pretty good marathon pick because he's still going to score points in the other weeks. And it's just those huge spike weeks are the most valuable. I mean, this is pretty similar to the playoff format, but you got to think you're going to have a baseline of points scored each week just from having, 7 wide receivers. So let's say the floor for these receivers is maybe a 10 in the flex spot. And so when you get that 40 points out of a Devin A Chain, uh, maybe that's poor because it's different positions, but let's say you get that 40 points out of Jamar Chase, even if he's not scoring much in some other weeks. And I know he's going to, this just for example, those spike weeks that are adding 30 points to your lineups those week, it's so much better than if he scored 20 points every single week, because then you're getting 10 points a week. But if we're getting like, sorry, I'm trying to figure out a good way to kind of frame this. I think the analogy I was using was imagine two players that both average 15 fantasy points on the season. That's pretty good in half PPR. One of them only scores 15 points consistently every single week. The other one only scores 30 or 0. We're somewhat interested in the guy that scores 15 because that's still pretty good. It's a good floor to have, for our flex at the very least, or maybe our wide receiver 2, 3, whatever. But at the end of the season, it just doesn't add as many points as a guy that scores 0 or 30 because the 0 doesn't really hurt us as much as the 30 helps us. So that's one thing I do think a lot of the field is probably drafting this tournament a little bit incorrectly. I'm sure that a lot of the guys that have been doing content on this on YouTube already have talked about, and I've watched a couple of them, and they feel the same way. Like you shouldn't really be considering floor because if the rest of the field is doing that, they're considering mid caches. I want to win first place out of 150,000. I mean 300K, because even if we're getting 10th, that's 20K, and it's just as hard to finish in 10th as it is in first. The only difference is variance there. Even in the top 100, the difference between 100th place and first place in a tournament with 150,000 entrants is just variance. And so, top 100, it's $1,000. It's great. Doesn't quite cover your max entries if you max it. I mean, you probably still break even though because of all the min caches if you have a top 100 team, but like that's a really good result having one team in the top 100 and it's only worth $1,000. So let's see. You can see I have a lean here in this tournament. I don't mind Debo or Nico. I'll be pretty happy with either one. If I have my choice of both, I'll go with Debo to mix it up since I have a bunch of Nico Collins already. These two percentages here. So this one is how much I have in. Okay, so I guess the only format marathon, so it's the same. Just how much I have in the marathon specifically. We'll go with Debo this time. And just I don't have that many drafts in this format on an underdog, but Tony Pollard, big lean, huge lean on Tony Pollard apparently. But if I'm right and Tony Pollard finishes top 7 at worst, or maybe even top 5 somehow, like if you don't have Tony Pollard, you cannot win this tournament. If you like last year, if you didn't have Kyron Williams and Puka Nakua, you could not win the tournament. You are just not competing. I don't know if there's any combination of players you could have that competes with teams that had Puka and Kyron, because you got to think that some of those teams were not awful. At the very least, they were fine. And fine teams that had Puka and Kyron were much better than strong teams that didn't have those two guys. Just So they kind of messed up the tournament last year. I don't know. There's going to be a player like that to mess it up. Like one player I'm thinking about is Rashi Rice. If he ends up being really, really good, he was going super late, so that could kind of mess things up a little bit. I mean, similar to my feelings on Rashi Rice in the other formats too. But let's see. I'll take Devontae since it's a little past ADP. Like just thinking about guys, I wonder if I can pull this up actually in Spike Week, see which guys move the most in ADP. I just think we have to be careful about him. Like if you don't think Rashi Rice is good, then it doesn't even matter. Like just don't draft him now, and it's not going to affect you. Even the guys that got him in like the sixth, seventh round, because if you don't think he's good, it's not gonna matter anyway. But how do I look this up?